Hey, what's up guys and gals? It's the Tyrant here. Happy Saturday to you and welcome back to my weekly Q&A session where you guys ask the questions and I give you the answers. This works pretty simply. If you want to ask a question to be considered for next week's video, all you have to do is ask it in the comment section below, or you can hit me up on Twitter at MythicTyrant. Of course, a link to my Twitter feed can be found in the description below. And if you're a premium member of this site through my Patreon page, then you can also ask in the Discord as well. And of course, if you want to take a look at the Patreon page, I'll put a link up here real quick. It's also in the description below if you want to take a look. Got some cool rewards and prizes for those who do want to become premium members. More on that in a little bit. And that's really all there is to it. I usually select about 10 or so questions a week, give or take. And yeah, I do it from all those. So let's go ahead and get started here. Pretty short intro, I guess. And our first question comes from CFunk99. And he's one of my premium guys. And CFunk asks, so here's my question I'd like you to answer in this week's Q&A. It's pretty serious, but if you had to quit YouTube due to financial reasons, but then get enough Patreon supporters after that, will you come back? So he asked a very interesting question, and the reason why it's so interesting is because this is a question I've asked myself, because the answer is I honestly don't know. You know, it's not completely unheard of either. We've seen other older shows get brought back too because of fan support. Recently, Mystery Science Theater 3000, one of my favorites, was brought back via Kickstarter. Another one that you may remember from your childhood was Reading Rainbow. That also got brought back via Kickstarter. So it's not impossible, but this is a little bit of a different situation. And I'll try to explain. I can't really picture people pledging monthly support to a channel that's not producing more content. And this doesn't just go for people, coming in new. This also applies to people who are already here. It's basically you're paying for a service that you're not getting. It's kind of like owning a World of Warcraft account where you have to pay a monthly subscription fee, which of course, anyone here who plays World of Warcraft already knows that, but then you never play the game. And interestingly enough, I happen to be one of those idiots. As a matter of fact, when the new expansion came out last year, I couldn't find my key fob anywhere, the thing that you use when you log in. And I hadn't used it since I moved. So I called up World of Warcraft customer service to see if I could get it reset, what steps I needed to take, if I could get it reset so I could download the app instead of having the physical device. And so, he was talking with me and he stops for a second. He says, do you know when the last time you logged on was? And I said, yeah, it's been about 2 years. And that's just kind of how I am with World of Warcraft. I play for a little while and then I stop for a while, and, but this was the longest gap I've ever taken. And so he seemed genuinely surprised by this because I hadn't played since the previous expansion came out. And I said, yeah, and he says, you've been paying for it the entire time. And I said, yeah, I know. He's like, dude, that's $15 a month. I said, I know. And he said, okay, well, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. The bad news is I can't get you that money back. The good news is I can get you your next 3 months for free. And I'm sitting there on the other line saying, what's the bad news part of that? I just called to get my password reset, and now I'm getting 3 months free. That's awesome. So I happen to be one of those idiots, but I imagine that most people aren't. If I'm not delivering new content, I can't imagine even current patrons sticking around for very long. They might. I could be completely wrong in that area, and I've thought about that portion of it too. And if I do end up leaving MythicTyrant.com, not shutting it down necessarily, but leaving it, for those who are patrons on my site, for those who are premium members, I'm not going to abandon you. Checking in my Discord and interacting with you guys in my Discord is not an inconvenience for me. It's actually a pleasure. I enjoy it, and it really doesn't take a lot of effort on my part, even if I have another full-time job. Setting up community game nights for the premium members out there, once a month or so, it isn't that difficult either. I wouldn't be streaming them, of course, if I had to leave MythicTyrant.com, but I guess if anyone else has a YouTube channel who's a premium member and wants to get in on that, of course, you can stream it on your site. The answer again is I don't know. Obviously, if I left, if people wanted to bring me back via Patreon, the goal would be higher, simply because I wouldn't be making anything on YouTube anymore, and I'd still have to be able to support myself. So the short answer is, the answer isn't no. And I think we'll just leave it at that for now. But even then, I kind of look at it like this. When I set up my Patreon site, this was back at the beginning of September, right? And I said that I wouldn't be seriously looking at whether or not I had to abandon MythicTyrant.com until about February. And so that's almost 6 months in and of itself. And even after looking at it, I would still leave MythicTyrant.com. I'd still continue contributing to the site until I could find something full time, however long that takes. Could be weeks, could be months, don't know. So that's at least 6 months right there that people have a chance to donate. Now we're already about a month and a half in, and we're only a little over 5% of my goal. So I mean, I'm not really sure what to think about that, and it doesn't seem very hopeful at the moment, but you know what? A lot can happen in the next few months, and I hope that between that and maybe the store, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that yet. I've got a new store. My wife actually set it up. I helped her out with that. We've got a lot of great stuff on there. You know, we've got t-shirts, we've got, you know, cell phone covers, we have wireless keyboards, and I'm not gonna lie, the wireless keyboard's pretty sexy, but if between the three I manage to be able to pull off what I need to pay my bills every month, to support my family, I won't have to worry about leaving to begin with. If I have to end up getting a full-time job instead, then, you know, if people keep donating to the site, again, I'm not saying no, it just starts starts making things even more complicated and even more convoluted, because even if I manage to get my goal at that point, you know, who's to say that a couple of years down the road, Patreon doesn't shut down? You know, at least if I have my YouTube channel going in parallel with Patreon, if something for whatever reason happens to Patreon, as long as my site keeps growing, eventually that should be able to get to a point where I may not need, well, I'd still keep Patreon obviously for the premium members and the benefits that they get, but at least it wouldn't be as paramount and I wouldn't be talking about it every week. So again, I don't know how it's going to go. When you're trying to do social media full time, it's a very complicated thing. It's not easy. It can be very stressful, especially if you're someone who isn't, you know, a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers or something like that. So it's a very complicated process. Again, if you want to help out trying to keep my site going, if you're able to, check out my Patreon site. It's as little as $1 a month. That's pretty cheap. It's less than a matinee movie ticket annually. So, you know, definitely give it a shot. We certainly welcome you with open arms. Everyone in the Discord, the premium Discord chat, is always happy when a new member comes in. So I hope to see you guys there. And I know that was a bit long-winded, but it's a great question, CFunk99, and thank you, man. And thank you for your support. And speaking of support, our next question comes from Chris Wood. Everyone give this guy a hand, because he's actually the very first Patreon, or the very first patron that I received, and he's actually on the Team Tyrant rank there, so he's going to be involved in some of our community game nights. So good to have you here, Chris. And he asks, since we're doing questions, when Halo ends, would you ever consider doing first-person horror games like Alien Isolation? When Halo ends, I'm considering doing it now. Well, all right, so I actually sort of answered this a little bit last week when people, well, not last week, but a couple of Q&As ago, when people suggested other games, and my reaction to that is, whenever I try to do a different game, it seems to be very hit and miss. You know, I've done Resident Evil on this site, never gets any hits. On the other hand, I did Star Wars Battlefront, and people seem to really love that, and we have a sequel to Star Wars Battlefront coming up next month, and of course I plan on getting that as well. I have a new game that I just bought today that I'm actually going to use tomorrow for my live stream. There are a lot of games out there that I would love to play. I'm a huge fan of horror games, and I haven't played Alien Isolation yet. It sounds like a really fun game. It's certainly something I would look into, but right now, I guess my biggest thing is I want to concentrate on just trying to get the channel up. You know, as soon as, especially for folks who are premium members, I'm certainly open to taking suggestions. I mean, you're paying for the right to have that privilege of being able to talk to or have a bit more direct contact with me. So, you know, especially during slow times, since we're not seeing a new Halo game on the horizon anytime soon, I'm certainly open to suggestions. Alien Isolation sounds fun, and if I can get things back up and running on this channel, You know what, Chris? Just for you, I will play Alien Isolation. So that's a great question, Chris, and I appreciate it. Our next question comes from Blackwing799. And Blackwing asks, do you think that Halo 6 will be as competitive as Halo 5? I certainly hope so. Honestly, and I may be the odd man out here, but I think Halo 5's multiplayer is probably the most fun I've had since Halo 3's multiplayer. I'm a huge fan of Warzone, especially Warzone Firefight. I love the bigger maps, the bigger teams. I like the fact that there are now AI in those maps as well. I've been wanting that since Halo 1. And to be honest with you, I actually enjoy the movement system, and for those who don't, there's a playlist out there for it. So I think they've done a great job with Halo 5 multiplayer and a great job of divvying it up into different parts, so that if you don't like certain aspects or baseline aspects of Halo 5's movement system, then you can jump into another playlist. So I think that they're learning. I think that they're taking community feedback seriously and getting more involved in the community, and I've got a lot of hope for Halo 6, so I really do hope they have a nice competitive league for it as well. So that's a great question, Blackwing. Thank you. Our next question comes from Krishna Talwani, and Krishna asks, how is your eye? Oh, in your Halo 5 Guardians Legendary walkthrough, you told us that you're blind and terrible at aiming. So he is correct. For those of you who don't know, one of the unfortunate things I walked away with after my 2015 accident, aside from being crippled, is I'm now blind in my right eye. What makes this even better is I have to renew my driver's license this year, and so it's the first time I've had to renew it in several years, and now it's going to go on the record that I cannot drive anymore. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully I can get at least a state ID or something like that. I mean, it's not going away. It is what it is. It's unless I get some sort of surgery on it, which maybe at some point. It's not on my top priorities list right now. I think my main thing is just I want to get my site up and running so that we don't have to worry about finances next year and spending that kind of money on fixing my eye when nothing's guaranteed anyway. Kind of like my leg. It just isn't in the works right now. I already know my leg's permanently fucked up regardless of what kind of surgeries I get for it. My eye is probably going to be the same way, even if I can get it moderately improved. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm willing to deal with it for right now until I get things up and running. And if the site starts doing well enough that I can start looking at those options down the road, it's certainly something I'm willing to explore. But that's a great question, Krishna, and I really do appreciate you asking it. Thank you. That's very sweet. Our next question comes from that guy across the street. It's how I laugh every time I see your name, my friend. No, nothing bad or anything. It's just kind of funny. And that guy across the street asks, should the Infinity link up with the Spirit of Fire in Halo 6, and should it be destroyed by the Banished or Promethean or the Flood? No, I hope not. Man, that would be a really sad ending to a Halo game. I guess Halo 5 was kind of sad too, but not in the same respect. So, no, I don't think that should ever happen. I think they should link up, absolutely. I'd love to see that crossover between Halo Wars 2 and Halo 6, and it's been strongly implied that they will be connected. So that aspect of it, yes, but I want people to survive. I want humanity to come out victorious. So I hope that answers your question, that guy across the street. Thanks. Our next question comes from Austin K. And Austin asks, what has been your favorite game modes in the Halo series? What game modes do you want to make a return, or what ideas for game modes do you have that you would introduce into Halo 6? Honestly, the game modes that are my favorite in terms of multiplayer are already there, namely Living Dead, and my favorite one personally is Griffball and Warzone Firefight. Honestly, going a little bit beyond that, I'd love to see more AI added into competitive multiplayer, sort of similar to Titanfall, and I'd love to see original Firefight make a return as well. I mean, I still enjoy the current Firefight system, but I don't see why they can't have both. And that was one of my favorite things to do for Halo 3 ODST. I could sit there for hours when I wasn't such a noob and just sit there on Legendary Firefight and play and play and play, and I'd love to see that added into Halo 6. I think a lot of people would love to see it return, and I'm definitely one of them. So thanks for asking that, Austin. I appreciate it. Our next question comes from Carlton Malone. Always good to see you, Carlton. And Carlton asks, do you think that brutes should return as enemies and playable weapons? Or I think he meant playable characters, but you know, not really. I'm not really missing them. I mean, I guess I could see it happen if Halo Wars 2 does cross over into Halo 6 and the Banished become a major enemy. If they're done right, sure. I guess Halo Reach sort of did it right, but in previous games they were just kind of weird. You know, they sort of took the place of weaker, I'd say weaker elites in Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST. In Halo 2 they fell completely out of place. They just replaced the elites entirely. They were just more annoying to fight. So Reach sort of did it best. I guess I could sort of see that go on for Halo 6 if the Banished are involved, but if the Banished, for whatever reason, aren't involved, maybe they lose the battle on the Ark, then no, I don't think they should make a return at all. But thanks for asking that, Carlton. I appreciate it. It's always good to see you here, my friend. Our next question comes from Phoenix King 115. And Phoenix King asks, what do you think of Halo Reach? Is it good or bad in your opinion? So I'm going to let you know right now, Phoenix King, I have an entire video on this. It's about 20 minutes long or so. It's called Why I Think Halo Reach is Overrated. Now, before you guys start jumping on me for it, I don't think Reach is a bad game. Halo 2 is the only game that I think is a bad game. And so, at least in terms of a Halo game, not in games in general. Halo Reach, I still like. It's just there are other games in the series that I like more. I think Reach, the thing about it is Reach didn't really add a lot of new stuff to the table. It just sort of took good elements from Halo 3, and then it started doing weird stuff with firefight and multiplayer where it just ripped elements from campaign, and to me that felt lazy. Forge World was great, and it would have been better if Bungie hadn't implemented that into multiplayer, further reducing the variety of maps that we saw in multiplayer, and it bored me overall. I didn't like Reach's multiplayer. I tried to, you know, especially since they had both Living Dead and Griffball, but I just couldn't get into it. So Reach, I mean, it had an okay campaign, all right. It felt a little bit more restricted compared to Halo 3 and even Halo 3 ODST, but it was okay. I mean, I didn't hate it or anything like that. It just wasn't as good as a lot of the other stuff out there. So to answer your question, I think Reach is a good game overall. It's just not even remotely close to being my favorite Halo game. But thanks for asking that, Phoenix. I appreciate it, my friend. Our next question comes from Luis Herrera, and I'm squinting, trying to look at the screen from across the room. And Luis asks, what's the best pistol? I guess in all the Halo series, I hope he's not talking about real life. So my personal favorite pistol in all of the Halo games, even more than the original pistol from Halo Combat Evolved, is the silenced pistol from Halo 3 ODST. I thought that was great. It's sort of rapid fire. It's very effective, and it's quiet at the same time. So it's a great weapon. I loved using it. I love giving it to my allies too, because they were very good with it. So yeah, short question, short answer. So thanks for asking it, Luis. I appreciate it. Our next question comes from my man, Patrick Thomas. Always good to hear from you, Patrick. And Patrick asks, Tyrant, what do you think of a Halo exploration game like No Man's Sky, where you play as a UNSC science explorer, where you explore the galaxy, find lands for colonization, see new aliens, discover Forerunner structures, see what secrets they hold, and discover expanded universe material? Cheers, Tyrant. You know, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about No Man's Sky. I think it was probably too ambitious of a project, to be honest with you. It sounds good in theory, but I just can't really see a game like that taking off for Halo. You know, when I suggested something similar for Halo 6, I wanted to see a more open-ended story, kind of like Destiny in a sense, but not really. No grind or leveling or anything like that, but that you could actually make choices in terms of what paths you take and how you complete the game itself. That's probably as open as I would get in terms of a particular Halo game, but it's an interesting concept, and I'd actually like to hear from you guys what you think of it in the comments below, especially the No Man's Sky part. I mean, do you like No Man's Sky? Would you like to see a Halo version of that? Yeah, definitely let me know in the comments below, everyone. Our next question comes from Lime Shake. God, I love Lime Shakes. And Lime Shake asks, would it be weird seeing Grunts allied to the Prometheans? It was confirmed that Grunts surrendered to Cortana, so some would be with her and some would be with the Banished. It would confuse me unless the Grunts had some kind of special design for Cortana. So this is a good question too, and I'm not really sure exactly how the Covenant will be implemented into the next major Halo title, if we'll even see the Covenant at all. It could just be the Banished. And to that end, yeah, I don't think that we would see it. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think we'll be seeing Covenant and Prometheans fight side by side in Halo 6. It was a little weird to see that in Halo 4, And keep in mind that even if it's canon, go back to the time of Halo 3. Remember, or actually further than that, Halo 2, when the elites, of course, were cast out of the Covenant, and the Grunts and the Hunters both defected with the elites. We then learned between Halo 2 and Halo 3 that actually it wasn't as evenly split as that. Some Grunts helped out the elites, some Hunters helped out the elites, and others stayed with the Covenant. When Halo 3 rolls around, we don't actually see the good Grunts or the good Hunters. We only see the elites. All the Grunts and Hunters we see are on the Covenant side. So if that's the case, I think that there's a strong possibility that we won't see that, even if it's part of the lore. I don't know for sure. I don't know what kind of design layout they're going to have for Halo 6, and especially if you're going to mix the Banished in there, that's going to make things really weird if you have multiple factions of Grunts. So I don't know how that's going to play out. It's an interesting concept, though, and I hope that 343 doesn't mess that one up. So thank you for asking that, Lime Shake. I appreciate it, and keep shaking, my friend. And our final question of the week, our star question, comes from Assassin Wolf Gaming. And Assassin asks, do you think that 343 will implement a pick a squad system so that you could pick what characters are on your team, i.e. having Master Chief or having Chief, Buck, Vale, Arbiter in your team, and being able to change it? Also, do you think an open galaxy Halo would be possible? So, to sort of make a throwback to the No Man's Sky, I think a semi-open worldness can be achieved, but not to the extent that One Man's Sky can. Now, to go back to your other question, the pick your squad system actually sounds pretty badass. I could really get behind that. You know, I think the squad system in Halo 5, I like the system itself. I like the fact that you have 3 AIs helping you out. This opens up a possibility for much larger and more complex battles, if done correctly, that is. And part of the problem with that is the only Spartans we really cared about in the entire game, for the most part, was the Master Chief and Buck, and for some people Locke as well. And I only say for some people Locke because no one really knew him before Halo 5 Guardians, whereas both Chief and Buck have history with the franchise. So I think that would be really cool. I think it'd be cool if they had different strengths and weaknesses, like maybe one Spartan is greater or is better with sniping. Another one is better with explosives like the rocket launcher, although that might be a little bit overpowered. Maybe the Hydra instead, I don't know. So I think that'd be an excellent system, and it would help you get to know the characters better. Have different features about them that makes them more unique and maybe better than others in certain scenarios. Like, again, let's just say they had an explosives expert, you know, but you're on a close quarter combat mission. Obviously, that wouldn't be the best choice. You know, a CQC would be a much better Spartan to have on your team, someone who mainly uses shotguns and stuff like that. It'd be very creative. It'd be a better way to customize your Halo experience, and just to expand on what you said with the open world feature and what I've been talking about, you know, for a while now. If you combine that, it would just make such a customizable Halo campaign that really it could only be a letdown if you suck at it or if you are making terrible choices, at least in my eyes. And so that each time you play Halo 6, you could have a different experience, sort of like playing Shadow of War. Well, not exactly like that, but you get the idea. Every playthrough would be different for you. And so I think maybe Mass Effect might be at least somewhat comparable in that regard. So absolutely, I think that'd be a great idea. I think it's something 343 should really think about. And thank you for bringing that up. At least it gave me an opportunity to bring it up in this Q&A session. I really didn't think about it that much before. I always thought it would be Master Chief, Locke, the Arbiter, and Buck. You know, I thought those 4 would be great, but if they gave interchangeable characters for people who may be more attached to Vale, or maybe more attached to Linda or Fred, you know, that would be an excellent thing to do. So that's a great question. Thank you for bringing it up. And you guys let me know in the comments below. Let's just, I mean, I know some of you have mixed feelings about the squad system, but what if this were the case? What if you could pick who was on your team? Now, usually I do a monologue after this, but I pretty much went into that because of question 1. Again, thank you, CFunk99, I appreciate it. But yeah, I want you guys to let me know in the comments below what you think of this new squad system feature. Would you support it? Would you still be against it? Whatever your feelings are, you can let me know in the comments below. or you can hit me up on Twitter at MythicTyrant. A link to my Twitter feed can be found in the description below, and I highly suggest you follow me on there. We have a lot of exciting things coming up with other content creators, and the best way to keep up to date with it is to follow me on Twitter, so definitely check that out. And of course, if you want to become a premium member of the site for as little as $1 a month, as we get more members in, we're going to start doing monthly giveaways. We're going to start doing more community game nights, doing prizes, rewards, that sort of thing. You can already get rewards if you join today. Again, it's as little as $1 a month. Check out the page. A link can be found in the description below, and I hope to see you there. Hope to see you on the Premium Members Discord, our private Discord right there. You are an exclusive club member at that point, a VIP if you will. And of course, we also recently opened up our new store. Holidays are coming up soon, folks. Definitely give it a shot. Definitely check it out. We have dozens of items on there to choose from, so I'd love for you to get something that you really love and just to show that you love this community and you're glad you're a part of it. And if you like this video and you want to see more, and you want to stay up to date on all your Halo news, tips, tricks, and secrets, don't forget to click that subscribe button for more great content every single day right here on MythicTyrant.com. And stay tuned Monday when I debate Hidden Xperia on whether or not Halo 2 is a good game. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I will catch you all right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.